in that project. But, Mr. Van Ark, I guess the question I have, and it's on the funding mechanism, because I think I was the only Republican to chair the Budget Committee in California in the last 16 more on to begin with. But you talk about TRIP bonds, and I think that's probably qualified tax credit bonds discussed in the Senate on S. 1436. And you're relying on about $12.6 billion on a bill that is a bill, not a law, I guess is my first. You know, both last year and the present federal fiscal year, we've zeroed out high-speed rail, so there's nothing there to fall back on. So, and if it's a reality, if it's for 30, not 50, but let's use the $50 billion level, you can only use 2% of that per state. So that's $1 billion, and even the California State testified a week ago that $1 billion can be leveraged into one point. I'm trying to figure out how to leverage my dollar into 150, but what do you do with the other 11.9 you're short based on your estimate given on that specific fact alone? I mean, it's a hypothetical.
Congressman, calculation that's been done that's been put into the business plan.
I understand.
As an example.
No, I understand it's a calculation, but the reality is it's not a law, it's a bill. If it were a law based on the bill, you couldn't count on more than $1 billion of it by the bill's language in and of itself. So if you take the language within the bill and it gives you $1 billion, not 12.9, and I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm just saying I'm having trouble making these numbers on the reality of what the bill says.
Well, in there is an example of how the mechanism could work rather than that being the funding mechanism.
I didn't hard.
The calculation in the business plan is an example of how that could work.
It's an example of how it could work if the bill were law and if the bill did allow, and it doesn't allow it. So why would you use something that's not law as an example of how you're going to fund it? There's $11.9 billion. The reason we have turned against this project, and when it passed originally, I thought, how can you continue to bond California's the level we are? And I know from the federal perspective on the rail side, I live in California, so it's not a hit on the federal government, but creating a disaster in California. We've done it for the last 10 years. We have a bonding disaster, but you're using funds in here are not even a pipe dream. Because there's this question on here. I guess it's the per passenger mile cost that you've come up with. So you have 20 cents per passenger mile based on 520 miles from L.A. to San Francisco. But in 2007, we had another hearing on high-speed rails, and we brought down to Germany, Spain, Japan, and we've patterned a lot of our maglev concept. But at their best, they found out that, which it's not allowed under the California High-Speed Train Act that was authorized to begin with. We can't do that, but we're doing it. But at that, they're paying 45 cents a mile for a very efficient program. How in the world, in these countries who really utilized high-speed rail, can we say we're going to do it for 20 cents when everybody else in the world, that's like how can you cook grits for 3 minutes when everybody else in the world takes 15? How do you do it for 20 cents when everybody else spends 45?
And Mr.